So that was the woman who owns the motel where I stayed, and she brought me right to Phelps Ave. And there goes the owner of the Williamstown motel where I stayed last night. They dropped me off here at Phelps Ave again, and I'm not going back up that way. I've been there. I am going to attempt to head north. After climbing Mt Greylock and then hiking south to summit Springer Mountain, Georgia, I hiked the Benton MacKaye Trail and then the Pinhoti Trail all the way to Flagg Mountain in Alabama before flying back north to Albany, New York, where I took buses back to Bennington, Vermont, and then Williamstown, Massachusetts. It is Sunday, April 2nd. That's where it started. In June, a lot greener. And this is how it's going. Going north. I feel like I attended that school last year, except classes were held up there. And even though I am probably still in somebody's backyard, I am back out on the trail, back out in the woods. First good water source. I don't need it though. I got 2 liters. It's probably noon. I was hoping to hike till 6. That gives me 6 hours to hike 10 miles. A lot of signs. Pine Cobble, I went by there on the bus line, the Green Mountain Express. Vermont state line, 4.1. I thought it would be a little farther. I kind of lost track of the trail for a second. I'm going across this. I'm not even sure if I'm going the best way. For right now, this is the driest way. And I could probably rock hop right here. Things are surprisingly dry today. We'll see how long that lasts. There's some more mud. Not even in Vermont yet. I don't want to jinx myself. I haven't seen one of these in a while, and it doesn't look like anybody's been taking the bad weather trail. I just had to walk through maybe 100 feet or so of snow, and Unger would have to expect more of that. And depending upon how much I have to deal with that, I might have to sneak into a town and get a pair of boots rather than my Solomon Speed Cross trail runners. They're doing okay today, but today I think is just scratching the surface as to how bad it can be out here as far as being wet goes, and snow, which is just frozen wet. I gotta go up a little incline and it's all snow. Now there were some other footprints besides mine, and halfway up they stopped, so I ran into about 5 or 6 people and they said they were doing it down and back. There's their footprints, so they just went over there. I'm gonna stick to the trail. I don't know if their way's better, but yeah, I'm not sure what their down and back was, whether they went to the state line. Oh, there's the other side of the bad weather trail. So I came back to Massachusetts Friday evening. I'm probably a mile from the Vermont border. And this is Massachusetts' way to welcome me back and say goodbye again. I'm only at a little over 2,000 feet elevation. Class of '98 trail. What? Wow, that's interesting. Everything's new. Everything's new to me here. I'm about to unlock a new state. Well, there's Massachusetts. And there's Vermont. Pretty nervous. There's been a lot of snow ever since I first started filming that snow in and around the rock gardens. I'm ankle deep, mid shin, knee deep in this snow sometimes, and I'm not making any miles. So, I mean, I'm relatively dry. I'm sweating off the top of my head in my bandana, but my feet are wet because I'm walking in the snow, which is just frozen water. So my feet are cold. So that's going to be a priority, is getting them dry. and warm. I had to make a decision. At 5:45 I pulled in here because this is slow going. So I've gone 6.3 and I probably started a little after 11:30, and like I said, it was 5:45. That's 6 hours to go 6.3. I'm going 1 mile per hour if I'm lucky, and it is hard. My leg is killing me. My quad muscle right there, my hip muscle right there. I just need to call it a day, get my tent set up, get my feet dry, and then we'll see what the hell I can do tomorrow. I went too far to turn around. I'm here, I got plenty of food, I'm heavy as all hell. I'm gonna try to get to Bennington, and I gotta get off trail, and I gotta reconsider a lot of things. Good morning. It is April 3rd, about 9:45. I've really taken my time this morning. So my trail runners were barely frozen. I kept them in the tent right there, and they were barely frozen this morning. So I just put them right there in the sun, and now they're just wet, but they're freezing. So putting my feet back in my wet trail runners that were frozen last night, my feet are already freezing. So I had my mind was racing this morning. I mean, I have two choices right now: double back 6.3 miles and go back to Williamstown that way, or push on, which is what I'm gonna do, and it might be stupid. Anyway, I gotta break this tent down, and then I gotta make it to the next shelter and get my feet warm. And at that point, it's too late to turn back. If I'm going to turn back, it's now, and I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to try to make this work, because there were a lot of things that I enjoyed. Just to show you how beautiful it can be. Right now, I've only been going for a short little while. I started just after 10, probably not even 10:15. Actually really winded. I didn't realize how winded I was until I started talking. But for right now, this is great. It's not going to last, I know that. It's going to be 55 today, 50 or whatever. So once it warms up even to 40, like it was yesterday, I won't be walking on top of the shell like I am right now. I'll be sinking in. I have to give it a shot. I have to see what it's like. I mean, if you could promise me it would be like this, and I'd be walking on top of the snow, I'd go all the way to Katahdin. I don't know if this is a thing or not, but when you come across a blowdown in the snow, I think it should be called a snowdown. And I found something worse than a blowdown. Snowdowns are worse than blowdowns. You really want to make sure you're reading the trail. It's important to be able to see the next blaze before you go off too far in any crazy directions, because even though you can get the gist for where the trail is based on the drift, you know, there's no other footsteps except for critters, and they're under no obligation to stay on trail for me. And with everything else I got going on, I can't afford to be off trail, because with every step possibly being so hard, you don't want to backtrack. Right now I'm optimistic. If it stays like this, I can make it to the next shelter. It was just 3 miles or so, 4 miles, whatever it was. And then the shelter after that, tomorrow, would just be another 4 or 5 miles. And then I'd make it to Bennington the next day. So that is really, really slow. Last night was good. I mean, in my liner and in my quilt, I was warm. My nose wasn't, but everything else was. Warm enough to sleep. Only had to get out of the tent once to go to the bathroom. That's a good thing, because I really didn't want to get out of the tent at all. It's beautiful here. Right now, this is good for morale. There's tracks that stop right there, and whoever it was doing a good job of following the trail. I just looked at the Far Out app. I'm on the trail. I'm about 1.1 miles away from the new shelter. Unfortunately, whoever this is, and they were wearing snowshoes, so they're smarter than me. They turned around right here, it looks like. So I have to make the next mile on my own. I was spoiled because I was following the tracks once I trusted them, and I didn't have to look for blazes. And in this spot here, I can see a blaze right there, faded on the tree. But in this section of the trail, these trees aren't great for blazes. So I am at this new shelter, and it is not finished. They haven't completed that third wall, but it's gonna have to work for me. Preview's complete. It's kind of snowed in. The shelter's kind of snowed in. But at any rate, I was trying to follow the trail the best I could. Privy's over there, so I could find it to get out. Ideally, I'd have footsteps, but, you know, the shelter is just 0.1, 0.2 away from the trail. Probably the first person to stay at this shelter, I'd assume. Good morning. It's Tuesday, April 4th, and it looks so beautiful out there. And I have a low battery. This is where I stayed last night, right near a stream. This is the last thing I crossed, and I was able to dig this out. It's wild. There's a lot of roots and there's a lot of bumps, and the tent surfing wasn't so bad, but this is what I had to do. I mean, I have color in my feet this morning, so last night they were really cold, colder than they were Sunday. One other thing, I don't know if I've mentioned it, I lost my third water bottle that had my full-size Sawyer squeeze on the top, and I thought about it, but there's no way I could turn around. I mean, I remember taking a sip, but I don't know how far I had gone. So, just can't take those extra steps. It's too hard. Every step is way too hard. I gotta break this tent down. I can't spend any extra time in these wet sneakers. So that by far was the craziest part of this whole crazy adventure. I don't know if you can see right in front of my finger. This is called a beaver bog bridge or something. So there's the beaver dam to the right, and right in front of my finger you can see two planks right next to each other, and that's how this bridge goes. It's probably two planks, I'm guessing, maybe one plank in some spots. What's covered in snow seems to be the planks, but I tried to go across on my knees for a little while until that seemed like a bad idea. Maybe I made it 10-15 feet. 75-80% of the time I was stepping on the boards. I could find them a little bit with my sticks, but there were some spots, because it zigs and zags, where I'm stepping on a zig and the board's probably zagging. A couple of times my feet went down, and my biggest fear was pulling my foot up and not having my shoe. So the only thing worse than the wrong shoes for the job is no shoe for the job. Just getting across this was a win. I had read about it before I left this morning, and thank God for the far out description. I mean, the trail brought me right to the edge, but I was looking at it and I thought it would have been over to my right, our left right now on the camera. But the far out description says that the bog bridge is just below the dam, and so you can see the change in the water level. It's beautiful here. There's some beaver wood over there. I wonder if there's a beaver in there laughing at me. What a sight for sore eyes. Unfortunately, it's going to be a frozen foot wet trek up to the privy. It's nice to have a privy. I haven't pooped since Sunday morning, to be honest with you. It's Wednesday afternoon, so I know I'm going to have to go. That's kind of a sign of the times that I haven't pooped. My body's in shock. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have this to myself. So I'm going to have a wet side and a dry side. I'm going to go try to get my feet dry and warm right now. Herbert Wheaton Congdon, longtime trustee and member of the Green Mountain Club, author and long trail map maker. So sounds like another cool guy, a lot cooler than me. That's how you get shelters named after you. And I was happy to be here. I just took 2 ibuprofen. That's supposed to help with trench foot and I guess frost nip or frostbite symptoms. It just helps thin your blood, I suppose. I'm guessing, I could be wrong, but it just helps you with circulation. So I've been massaging my feet a lot. I've been massaging my lower legs. I've got my long johns on and my rain pants. I'm all bundled up with my top. I've got my thermal, my puffy coat, my rain jacket, so I'm trying to stay warm. I've been in my quilt and my liner. I'm gonna prepare dinner. I'm gonna have a snack because calories are also going to be important to keep me warm. There isn't too much that I'm not either wearing or that isn't hanging from the rafters. I think 1 pair of shorts and 1 pair of socks is all that either I'm not wearing or isn't hanging from a nail from the ceiling. So all this stuff is kind of wet. This is what I was wearing. It's not really that wet, but my pants are wet. If all goes well, I get an early start tomorrow, which has been hard for me, but I've been waking up. I've just been choosing to stay in bed. But tomorrow I have to set an alarm. I have to drink extra coffee, I have to make it a priority to get going and hike as early as I can so I can get into town as early as I can. I signed a trail log. I never do that, but I figured people should know I was out here in April. if the snow on the trail between Bennington and Williamstown is melted a little bit faster than everywhere else, it's because I was stupid enough to walk on it. It is beautiful to be out here, and I don't have much else to do. So I'm just at a point where I want to finish this. I want to do it. And I want to be out here. Good morning. It is Thursday, whatever that makes it, the 6th of April, and I'm as ready to go as I can be. It's just a little past 8:15, so I'll probably get going at 8:30. I woke up at 6:30, and I wanted to be out of here at 7:30 or 8. So there's a 1,000-foot descent that I saw, and my friend Wheezy P that I met on trail last year, she has hiked it and said it was difficult going up, so I have my spikes right there. It's supposed to be rainy conditions around 5, but only 30%. It just seems like it's going to be a cloudy, foggy day. It's in the 50s already at 8:15. When I woke up, it was in the mid-40s. First yard sale on the AT in a while. Stopped and got some water. I spilled some coffee. That's that ugly snow. All in all, I think I'm going to survive. Don't try this at home. And this was a bad idea. I do believe I set the record for the slowest pace from Route 2 Williamstown to Route 9 Bennington. Oops. I haven't seen this much exposed ground since right before I got to the rock garden in that pine cobble, you know, about 2 miles away from Route 2. I am a half mile away from the road, and I got to go down 700 feet elevation, so it's going to be a steep drop, and you can already tell. I just turned the corner and saw that. So I put my micro spikes on. I can see the road for the first time. There's Route 9. So knock on wood, I have 0.2 to go. I made it, as long as nothing silly happens to me from here to there. These micro spikes really help me out. This is pretty much a stairway to heaven that I'm going down, and this does not do it justice as to how much snow and some ice was up there. I have Pete from the Mt Motel picking me up. There's some kayaks. It's probably safer to kayak this time of year than it is to hike the AT. I'm gonna spend some time in Bennington and wait, so I'm not dealing with snow when I try to climb that mountain. I think that's Stratton. That is gonna be 1,000, maybe 1,400 feet higher elevation. So the plan will be, if I can't hike 10 miles a day, I got to turn around. But I'm going to give it until probably the 14th of April.